Well, hello there, Aeronauts and people that are not in the know. My name is Todd, and this is an explanation as to why Ayreon and his associated musicians and singers and projects has consumed my life since the year 2001. I had read a review about the Universal Migrator albums. It was a 2-disc set. I asked my brother for one for Christmas, and I got the Universal Migrator Part 2. That's how you spell Ayreon. Ayreon is a Dutch musician. It's a single guy named Arjen Lucassen who lives in the Netherlands, and all his albums are typically double albums, about 80 minutes long, and they're rock operas, concept albums, they're a big story. He uses lots of singers. And the first album I got was Universal Migrator Part 2, which was very spacey. It was about planets and black holes and white holes and being the last man on Earth and supernovas. And Arjen has a skill. He will select different musicians and mainly singers from different bands, and when he does this, he's able to use them in their best capacity. So on this album, I discovered 3 very important people: Russell Allen and Timo Tolkki, who I was familiar with from the band Stradivarius, and to a lesser degree on this album, Damien Wilson. You're probably thinking, who are these guys? Damien Wilson is a British singer. He sings lead for the bands Threshold, and previously before that, Landmark. I've now got all their albums. Timo Tolkki sings for Stradivarius, which is a Finnish power metal band, and then he also has his own band, Tolkki. And of course I have all those albums. Russell Allen is American. He sings for the band Symphony X. And for a brief while he had a band called Adrenaline Mob. Well, I love all 3 of these guys' voices so much that I have all that stuff too. Not all the Symphony X stuff. It's a little too progressive for my simple mind. That was part 2. So I said, I gotta get part 1 of the Universal Migrator, which had Damien Wilson on there. It also had this woman from the Netherlands called Jacqueline Govert, and she fronted the band Krezip, which I guess means peach in Dutch. So I got all the Krezip albums, and let me say you right now that prior to Ayreon, I was not much of a fan of women singers. When I got this album, I decided, ooh, I love this woman's voice. I'm going to get anything she sings on. I had also said that about Russell Allen. He's in my top 10 men singers, as is Timo, as is Damien. Also on that album, besides Damien and Jacqueline, there was, to a lesser degree, at least at this time, a woman named Floor Jansen. You'll hear about that very soon. After this album, I went back, excuse me, and I got a previous album called The Electric Castle. This album was fantastic. And on this album, I discovered the singer Sharon Den Adel. Put a star by her because she's in my top 10 women singers. And she fans the band Within Temptation. So I got those albums. There was also Anetka Van Giersbergen. See if I can spell this right. Put a star by her. So I already have 3 of my top 10 women singers here. And of course, Damien was also on this album. And I didn't even realize it until this year, but there's a guy named Robbie Valentine. I'm going to write him over here. He just played keyboard on this album, but we'll come back to him in a little while. Fabulous, fabulous album. Skyrocketed Ayreon into my top 5. That being Queen, King's X, Paul Gilbert, Buckethead, Ayreon. After that album, Ayreon decided to try something new, and he did a project called Star One, which was each song had actually had 4 singers on it, and they were all songs about TV shows or space movies. And he used, let's blow your mind, Damian Wilson's on there, Russell Allen's on there, Floor Janssen's on there, and then there was another guy, I forget his name at the time. So those 4 singers, this was my album of the year. Best album I've heard all year. At this point, I'm so hooked on anything this guy does. Then he puts out, 2 years later, he puts out The Human Equation. I'll tell you right now, album of the year. This is 2004. There's a woman named Heather Findlay on there. I remember this song that she sang on. I would lie on my back waiting for the train. So enraptured with the song, tears would roll down my cheeks. 12 times. That song makes me cry all the time. There was also a guy named, she sings for a band called Mostly Autumn, or she did. I tried one of their albums. It was alright. There's a guy named Magnus Ekwald. He sings for a band called The Quill. I tried a few other albums. Devin Townsend was also on here. If you don't know who Devin Townsend is, do you know who Steve Vai is? Steve Vai put a band together called Vai around 1990, 92. Devin Townsend was an unknown Canadian singer. He had sing on that album. Devin went solo. I have a lot of Devin's albums. He made a brief appearance on here. In Devin's own career, with the Devin Townsend project, he has a lot of, where do we go? Anetka Van Giersbergen sings on his albums. Amazing. 2 of his albums have been my albums of the year. In 98 and I think 2006. Amazing guy. After The Human Equation, we have his next album, which I don't have the name down, but it has Annika's on there. And Floor from right here, from Star One, from The Electric Castle is on there. Then we have Jorn Lande. Bam! Put a big star by this guy. One of my all-time favorite male singers. Of course, Floor also is, and Annika also is. King's X, one of my favorite bands. Ty Tabor plays guitar on one. He actually sings on one of these tracks. There's also Simone Simmons. She's in a band called Epica. She's a soprano. Wonderful, wonderful voice. I'm running out of paper. Let's move this up here. Then there was another Star One album. Victims of the modern age. Repeated the same four. It has Damien. It has Russell. It has Floor. And it has that other guy. I forget his name. I don't really care for his voice. He's kind of has a deep voice. Then there was another Ayreon called the Source. This has Simone from Epica. She's here. Then it has Floor. It has Russell Allen. It has Tommy Karavic, who sings in the band Camelot. He's the second singer for that band. The original singer was a guy named Kahn, Roy Kahn. We'll come back to him later. Tommy Karavic, awesome voice. He's an American singer. There's also a guy in here named Tobias Sammet. He is a German guy who does albums in his own vein, similar to the Ayreon albums. We'll come back to him later too. This puts us to the most recent Ayreon album that just came out this year, called Transitus. I've had this album about a week. Who's on it? Tommy Karavic is on there. And Simone is on there. And Marcella. Oh, I forgot to tell you about Marcella. Marcella goes all the way back to The Human Equation, which was my album of the year right here. She's on there too. Another one of my favorite singers. There's also on this album Amanda Sommerville, an American singer. Very good voice. Amanda does a project called Kisk Summerville. Well, who is Kisk? Oh, that's Michael Kisk. Michael Kisk. Remember that name. Michael Kisk. Another one of my favorite singers of all freaking time. In fact, he probably is my favorite living singer. Michael Kisk. But he has not appeared on any Ayreon albums. But, more on this guy. So let's go over here. Let's take a step to the side. Move this over here. And let's talk about Michael Kisk. Well, Michael Kisk he was the singer for the band Halloween. One of my favorites. But then he left for a while. And while he left, he did a lot of side projects. One of those was, he did two very important side projects. He did Halloween, he did Kisk Sommerville, he did Timo Tolkki's Avalon. Who sings on Timo Tolkki is a guitar player. We can do this and fold it like this. For Stradivarius. But he left the band. He's doing his own thing now. And on Timo's album, he has Michael Kisk. He has Sharon Den Adel from here, from Within Temptation. She's on there. He has Russell Allen on there. He has his previous keyboard player, Jens Johansson, from Stradivarius, and he was Yngwie's keyboard player. He also did a band called, Timo did a band called Revolution Renaissance. And he had Tobias Sammet, this guy mentioned over here. Tobias Sammet, right here. Tobias Sammet, he was on there. And also Michael Kisk was on there. Kisk and Sharon Den Adel also sang on Timo's solo albums. Timo also had a woman named Elise Reed, another one of my favorite singers. She sings for the band Amaranth. But she also sang on some of Timo's albums. Now I'm starting to talk silly. Timo has done 3. Timo Tolkki's Avalon. He's done 3 albums. On the second one, he had Simone Simmons sing on it. He had Floor Jansen sing on it. He had Elise Reed sing on it. Bingo, bingo, bingo. More favorite singers. He also had a guy named Fabio Leone. He sings for the band Rhapsody and Angra, and he sang in Camelot a little after Roy Kahn left and before Tommy came in. Now we'll go to over here.